Hello Guy, welcome back to my channel Cheating Stories 911. Today we will listen to the story of a girl whose lover is a boy with a bad past. Drug use, sexual abuse, and always live for yourself. I, female 31, am a bit worried about what I found out about my boyfriend, male 33, during a float trip with his friends. We have been dating a bit over a year. We met online. He lives an hour away in the country on his family farm with his parents because he is trying to pay off student loan debt, which I feel is probably over 100K, and I live in the nearest big city by myself in an apartment, also have some student loan debt, 22K. He was working at an Amazon warehouse and was promoted to supervisor and being considered for training positions, but had a couple buddies doing iron working, so actually is starting that soon, which he should make decent money in, but he will be a journeyman for 3 years. He went to school for engineering, but after 5 years dropped out. He said he partied a lot, kept changing majors. His dad needed him on the farm, so he left and went back home and is still paying off the debt over 12 years later. When we were on the float, his friend's girlfriend brought up the time 7 years ago when my boyfriend got arrested and a DUI. Apparently the float was over and 2 people went missing. It happened to be Samian's girlfriend and one of the guys, and their canoe had the booze and I believe people's keys, etc. So my boyfriend said he was the least drunk out of everyone, and he drove out looking for them, and got pulled over for speeding only 5 over, and got arrested and a DUI. He went back months later to serve 2 days in jail. He did get it off his record and it doesn't affect him. And apparently the 2 people who went missing were actually popping pills and having sex, and when the girl's boyfriend found out he was super angry and it was a scary mess. I asked my boyfriend if he ever got arrested any other time. He said yeah, him and his best friend I think were arrested for possession while driving, but he said they didn't read them their rights, so it's also off their records. That was a decade ago. He said he was very embarrassed and only those friends and his family knows about his DUI and jail time. But I also sensed that he felt like he should be embarrassed, but was also like, F the police, because he said he was totally fine, barely over the limit. They profiled him, and he went and got his car that night when the cop told him do not move it until morning. So he definitely felt he shouldn't have been pulled over. My boyfriend also told me of stories where he would drive around drinking for fun. He would drive his friend who lost his license and they would chase storms and drink and listen to music. That friend has since passed tragically in a motorcycle accident. I also heard about harder drug use of his friends, and I'm sure my boyfriend has done harder drugs in the past. I'm not sure about now. I know he used to be a stoner but stopped to occasional use in the last year or 2. He doesn't really drink a ton now. He followed my lead during the float trip and didn't drink a ton. But I heard about last year's float where he passed out drunk and was hanging out of the tent all night. During the float his 2 married friends fought 2 nights to the point where they were screaming and rolling around fighting, and apparently that's a normal occurrence, but half the people there left early because they were killing the vibe. The wife gets really angry when drunk. Despite the bad things like substance abuse and risky wild decisions, my boyfriend is an excellent person and friend. He is very well loved and his friends and I describe him as very loyal, dedicated, pure, and a great friend. He goes out of his way to help people out often. He is extremely handy and loves fixing things and helping others out. He is always very sweet and kind and friendly and has a great warm, sweet personality. He has said he'd take a bullet for me and sticks up for me when with his friends. He is a gentleman and a very supportive person. I just worry about his substance use, which I believe is just alcohol, and he doesn't seem to drink a ton anymore like he used to. He really loves me and wants a future with me, but his debt is holding him back, but he's just gotten a new job. His friends say they've never seen him so motivated and focused on the future, and they love us together. And I do too. I'm just a bit worried about a future together, like him getting into trouble one day or arrested or something, and what if we had a family and kids, and will my kids make risky decisions too? I think his dad is an alcoholic, and his mom is mentally ill, dissociate identity disorder. And their property is in a state of disrepair, and there are a lot of beer cans everywhere. My boyfriend is also of the attitude that you only live once and could die at any time, so might as well live it up. Which is great for partying but also scary when you're considering building a future with someone, because it seems he puts himself in risky situations for fun that could definitely hurt him or others and end his life early unnecessarily. I've also been told that ironworkers are wild, and my boyfriend was talking about how raunchy they are. I'm happy he's getting a better paying job, but it seems to be with his most wild friends, which makes me a bit worried. I just saw a different side to him when with his friends, and can tell that usually my boyfriend is the one who gets the party started, but his number one priority was me during the trip, and I felt like a boring, awkward party pooper. I wondered during the trip if he would be happier with a partying type of girl, which I am most definitely not. I felt I brought the vibe down, while he was trying to lift it up, but I'm just boring and very awkward. His number one priority was me during the trip, but I honestly am super introverted and just wasn't feeling myself. Felt out of place. It wasn't anyone's fault as everyone was nice and friendly to me. But they were all smoking weed and doing edibles, and I had a panic attack and got really paranoid last time I smoked weed, which was New Year's when I met these friends, so decided not to do it anymore. I very rarely did anyway, like every few months and only when I was around people who were. I just am a loner type and not very social. He also made a couple comments like F the police and how he doesn't like the government, so I wonder if his true attitude is that he doesn't appreciate laws or law enforcement and thinks they're just hampering on his fun. Also, when him and his friend would drive drunk, I believe it's always on backcountry roads, not around a lot of people. But he did tell me he was driving on a cliff turn with his brother and asked his brother for another beer, and the car skidded around the turn and it was a close call. Sometimes I wonder if he had a bit of a death wish when younger. He is taking over the family farm someday in the next decade when his dad retires, and I wonder if he kinda feels destined to be just like his dad, who is also very sweet but whom I suspect has an alcohol problem, maybe even drug, I don't know. He doesn't have me out there very often and seems embarrassed of how neglected things are there. TLDR, my boyfriend has a great heart but has struggled with alcohol, substance abuse, and risky behaviors, and has a lot of friends who do too. I love him a lot, but I'm scared for a future together. I feel I can't or shouldn't try to change or control him. How do I deal? Comment 1. He has a past of risky behavior, but did he abuse substances on the float with you? What signs can we see? On this float with his friends, his number one priority was you. He chose you over all of his friends. Did he admit to his past mistakes and take responsibility for them? It sounds like it, but he also seemed kinda braggy about his drunk driving. You are not an awkward, boring party pooper. You seem to be his rock, and he seems to really appreciate that. It sounds like you need to have a conversation with him and talk about how you're feeling. Everybody is allowed to have a past, but you are looking toward the future. You seem to care about each other a lot. It would be good to ask him about his current attitudes toward drunk driving and drugs. If he's gone straight edge and is committed to staying clean, then I think you should believe him. Give him opportunities to show you how he's changed his habits and grown. You should tell him about how you didn't really vibe with the group during the float and see what his reaction is. Getting into drunk screaming matches isn't a good vibe at all. How do you think he could help you feel safe and included? Would he be okay with not attending again? Would it be okay if you joined a different float group or got one with just the two of you? Speaking as a former college DJ, there are ways to party really hard but still be safe and responsible. Everybody is allowed to have a past, but they should also be given the chance to show how they have learned and grown. Sit down with him and have a conversation. I know you're worried, but listen to him and give him a chance to soothe your concerns. Reply. No, he only drank and didn't get wasted. He also is starting a new job where they could drug test, so that was also a reason, but I'm sure he wouldn't have done anything I didn't want to do or want him to do. He definitely chose me over his friends, though I felt a bit closed off and in my head, worried about things, and I'm not very sociable. Maybe we do need to talk. I am curious if he is using any other drugs or if he has in the past, not sure if that's something you ask. I want to ask what he wants for the future with us and his future in general. He seems to be a more in-the-moment kind of person. I'm just scared to let these last years of fertility go by when he's still getting his life together. And then if we do have kids, is he going to put me and the family at risk? What if he goes to jail, etc.? He said he learned his lesson and such, but I also felt he was resentful of getting arrested and said they profiled him, and he has a bit of a rebellious attitude towards the law. His friends were nice but also a bit more wild than I am. One couple was talking about how they drink every night. They're really sweet though. The other couple was getting into scary, insanely loud screaming and physical fights. Another was being super raunchy and making me a bit uncomfortable. What do you think about this man? Is a talented guy capable of making money? Or just a 33-year-old guy who lives like he's 18? Story 2. Cheating GF, female 23, after 7 years. So found out my girlfriend of 7 years was cheating with a guy I considered to be a friend. I had been going out to football on Wednesday nights, and she used to come with me. But eventually she started to tell me she didn't want to go, and was going to chill in the house. I thought nothing of it. Around the same time she stopped going, the friend who used to be at football with us stopped going. Strange timing, I thought, but never really got into it. Over the next few weeks and months this pattern continued, only I noticed them speaking a lot more over text. One day we were sat together, and I seen his message pop up. He said we defo need to try that again. I quizzed her on this. She said she didn't know what he meant. I was starting to get really suspicious. He was starting to appear at our house more. He was becoming a lot more involved. One night I noticed bruises on her legs and ass. She was always rough, but I knew it weren't from me. So one night I was waited about after I left for football, and 10 minutes after I left his car arrived. I waited about 5 to 10 minutes before going back into the house and went in quietly. I got up the stairs and they were in bed together. They didn't notice me and kept going. I left her the next day. What the hell is going on? Cheating in Opie's room or something? An op didn't even come into the room to question them, simply walked away. I cannot imagine. Let's see what people say. Comment 1. Nicely done. Just get your shit and go. Find out who in your friend group knew and then leave them all. Comment 2. I would have at least turned on the lights and asked them with a straight face if they had seen my wallet. Then just turn and walk out. Give them a little PTSD moment to reflect on years later. Comment 3. I would have at least turned on the lights and asked them with a straight face if they had seen my wallet. Then just turn and walk out. Give them a little PTSD moment to reflect on years later. Story 3. Husband, male 24, and his coworker, female 30, are giving off flirty vibes. My husband has had a female friend for a while now. At first, I was okay with it because they only talked about working out, routines, the gym, pre-workout. He told me in the past that everyone at work thinks she's attractive, but he doesn't get the hype. I know it's bad, but I looked through their messages. I got super flirty vibes from both of them. They talk every day and she is always sending him videos, selfies, and post-workout pictures. She straight up called him cute, but I couldn't tell if it was in a friend way or flirty way. He hearts every picture and has commented things like 10/10 how do you look Fugo, and said one of her selfies was gorgeous. He even said me Amber in one text. My husband is a nice guy, so I can't tell if he's hyping her up because they are working out a lot or if he means it in a flirty way. He has given me no signs of physical cheating, but is it emotional cheating? She is very attractive and they have a lot of similar interests. My heart feels broken. He talks to her more than me, it feels like. Anyone been through something similar? Comment 1. Emotional affair that will 100% turn into physical affair. Comment 2. Ask him if he finds girls looking to be homewreckers attractive because that should be a major turn-off. Before he answers, tell him, you should find somewhere else to stay while you think about that. And shut it down. The question is hypothetical to get your point across. You want zero discussion while he's in the defensive, shock throes of wanting to deny, deflect, and gaslight. He will know exactly what you're getting at. Take all that tea away, coldly reiterate he needs to pack a bag. You can help if it speeds things up and you'll chat when he thinks long and hard on that question. Make it clear you're not listening, gray rock, and get him moving. Once he's out the door, block all communication for a couple of days. He needs to squirm. Comment 3. I don't think it's appropriate for a taken man to compliment a woman that isn't his wife's sister mom, not a co-worker. It sends of the wrong vibe, sounds like they are already having an emotional affair, who knows, maybe physical one too. Doesn't take more than 10 minutes to sneak somewhere at work and sleep together. Or call in sick but tell you they're going in. Comment 4. They are in an emotional relationship if not physical. He calls her my love in Spanish, just flirting or like a joke, but obviously he has put all the cards in the table. If she wants, he is with her right now. This is not a dumb joke between coworkers. What do you think about this guy? Is he cheating on his wife and having an affair with a female colleague over 6 years old? Don't forget to subscribe to Cheating Stories 911 channel for daily story updates.